let's talk about Mesopotamian art. So here's our world map, and we are here, obviously. We're over in the United States in Pennsylvania. So that's us. We are going to travel all the way across the world to Mesopotamia, which is right there. So Mesopotamia is sort of in modern day Iraq and a little bit of Syria. That's that little orange spot right on the map right there that you see. Everything else that's colored in are things that we're going to cover in this unit. And I'll slowly fill in this map as we go. So, Mesopotamia, what is it? So Mesopotamia was the birthplace of civilization. They call it that just because for a really long time, before we had the Mesopotamians, we had nomads, wanderers, or cavemen. So civilization started in Mesopotamia, and that means that we started to develop writing, we started to develop farming. People weren't moving around all the time hunting and sort of fending for themselves. Mesopotamia started civilization, meaning it was the first place where there were cities. You might remember this from history class. So this is about 4,500, 3,500 BC. People aren't really sure. The people of the region began constructing cities, the first cities ever built. Mesopotamians were the first to have a formal religion and build monumental structures devoted to kings and gods, meaning that they're the very first people that built temples and structures for a specific god that they believed in. Okay, so historians often call Mesopotamia the cradle of civilization. So basically, you might ask yourself, why did people pick there? Of all places, why was this the first civilization? Why were these the first cities? And the answer to that is two rivers. So usually when you have a civilization that we're going to talk about, there's a natural resource that made it possible for people to live there. For Mesopotamia, there were two rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, and because of that water source, people were able to live there. In about 3,500 BC, the people of the region began constructing cities, and different groups rose to and fell from power in ancient Mesopotamia. There are three different groups that we're going to talk about: the Sumerians, the Assyrians, and the Babylonians. We aren't going to talk about them in super great detail. We're just going to talk about some of the art that they created. So why do we care about Mesopotamia, basically? Why is it interesting? Why are we still talking about the Mesopotamian art? And the interesting thing about Mesopotamia is they were one of the first to develop a form of government, and they called that a city-state. That means that each city was its own, basically like a country. So certain cities would be fighting other cities. That's the structure of a city-state, and you'll hear me say that a lot throughout this unit. The Mesopotamians were the first to formalize religion and build monumental structures. They developed law codes, mathematics, pottery, weaving, and metalwork. The Sumerians were the first. Actually, they think that the Sumerians settled around 4,500 BC, 1,000 years before that, but they didn't start building cities until a little bit later. The Sumerians invented the first writing system, which is called cuneiform. They wrote by pressing wedge-shaped reeds or sticks into clay to form specific patterns. It wasn't handwriting or letters as we know them now, but they understood what it meant based on this sort of system that they developed. So pretty interesting. Mathematics, pottery, weaving, metalwork. They had pretty advanced art, actually, and they also developed the first form of writing. Okay, when were the Mesopotamians alive? I created a timeline for you guys that we're going to build onto, and here we go. So you have the Sumerians were first. This is a crazy timeline. If you look at this, this is 5,000 years before the birth of Christ, which would be AD, right? Each color change is 500 years. So the Sumerians were first. The Assyrians came next. They lasted from about 2,500 BC to 612 BC, and the Babylonians came after that. They were from around 1895 to 539 BC. And those are your different Mesopotamians. So when I say Mesopotamians, it's not necessarily just one group of people. Mesopotamia is an area that has three different groups of people, and those are the different groups of people on our timeline. Okay, As you read, as you go through this summary, or as you read through the online school, I want you to look for these words. So ziggurat, that's a word that you need to know. You need to know about relief sculpture. We're going to talk about Ashur-nasir-pal II and this sculpture about hunting lions. So we're going to learn about what relief sculpture is, and we're going to talk about this specific thing. And then architecture, we will talk about Babylon's Ishtar Gate. All this stuff is in Babylon. The Ishtar Gate, Hanging Gardens, and the Temple of Marduk. And that's pretty much what we're going to focus on. So look up for those words and also focus on your vocabulary words. Okay, I want you to also pay attention to what you have to do for this assignment. So the assignments that go with this lesson, really just practice your vocabulary words. And you're going to take the Mesopotamia and Egypt quiz after you read and go through all the lessons about Mesopotamia and all the lessons about Egypt. So don't take it yet. And then writing assignment 3 kind of encompasses a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about this week and next week. So you'll just keep that in mind too. You don't have to do it yet. So just make sure that you're thinking about that as you read, though. Okay, now go ahead and learn some more things about Mesopotamia. Okay, so that concludes the introduction to ancient Mesopotamia. Go ahead and get started on your reading, and hopefully you learn a few things.